Welcome to the official Sales and Marketing for Beauty Conference podcast. This is your go-to destination for real-world insights on building, growing, and thriving in the beauty industry. Whether you're a beauty entrepreneur, a salon or spa owner, a product brand owner, or an aspiring professional, you're in the right place. Each episode is your personal masterclass in beauty entrepreneurship, from sales strategy and social media tips to brand building and behind the scenes stories from industry leaders. SAMB is more than a podcast or an event. We're a year-round support system. Mark your calendar for SAMB 2025, our flagship conference happening November 5th through the 7th. It's a virtual event. And so we have a lot of global speakers as well as speakers there in the U.S. and local to New York City. We'll also have some local networking opportunities, and there'll be virtual networking opportunities. And so there'll be hands-on workshops, one-to-one consultations, expert-led sessions, all designed to help you scale and succeed and get real actionable strategies and tips to grow the sales and marketing function of your business, right? So stay tuned for the podcast. Make sure you check out our website, and we hope to see you at SAMB 2025.
Today, we are taking a really close look at an industry undergoing, well, frankly, a massive transformation. It's the beauty world. And we're not just talking about, new trends or colors. This is about something much deeper, how products get made, how they're packaged, tracked, all driven by this huge push for real environmental sustainability.
That's absolutely right. The beauty sector, it's always been about glamour, but let's be honest, it's also had a history of, well, significant waste, lots of packaging, resource-heavy processes.
Right.
And it's facing a major reckoning now. Our sources make it really clear that this deep dive is all about how artificial intelligence, AI, has become, well, essential. It's providing these actionable, data-driven solutions.
Okay.
Solutions to tackle these really complex environmental challenges. And importantly, these are solutions that go way beyond just, slapping a green label on something, far beyond greenwashing.
Okay, so let's unpack that mission then. We're looking way past the usual AI stuff like virtual try-ons or chatbots.
Yeah, this is fundamental stuff.
We're talking structural changes, supply chains, factory floors, how ingredients are chosen, logistics, the whole nine cards.
Exactly.
So the mission for you listening in is to really get how AI is being used right now to improve product development, make packaging smarter, optimize manufacturing, cut waste, basically slash the environmental footprint.
And crucially, doing all that while still maintaining the really high product quality and performance that consumers expect, that's non-negotiable.
Absolutely. You can't compromise on the product itself.
No way. And the big picture here is that AI offers something genuinely new. It's this unprecedented chance to optimize formulations, maybe even down to the molecular level.
Wow.
To drastically cut physical waste all through manufacturing and distribution, and maybe most importantly, to build business practices that are sustainable by design. Intelligently designed, not just like bolted on later.
Right, not an afterthought. It's baked in.
Exactly. It shifts sustainability from being this vague goal to something measurable, something backed by hard data.
And that measurability, that's key, isn't it, for holding brands accountable. So let's jump into the catalyst for all this, the driving force, consumer pressure. Why is going green suddenly survival for beauty brands?
Well, it's the speed, really. The speed at which the market sentiment has just solidified. It's fascinating. Our sources show this rapid, undeniable rise in consumer demand for verifiably eco-friendly products.
Verifiably being the key word there.
Absolutely. We've got data, even going back a few years, like a 2020 McKinsey survey, showing that something like 67% of consumers see sustainability as an important factor, often a deciding factor when they buy something.
67%. Wow. That's not just a niche anymore, is it? That's like a baseline expectation.
It really is. And the momentum, it's clearly generational. The sources really emphasize this. It's being pushed hard by younger consumers, Gen Z, millennials. They're incredibly vocal.
Yeah, they don't seem to be waiting around for companies to figure it out.
Not at all. They demand accountability. They see corporate environmental responsibility as just, well, fundamental to a company's license to operate. It's not some optional extra or a nice PR angle.
And so what are they demanding specifically?
Well, it's products that are ethically sourced, definitely cruelty-free, but also packaged and produced in a way that clearly minimizes environmental harm. And they're armed. Social media, review sites, comparison tools. They're quick to call out brands that seem inconsistent or are just greenwashing.
Which must put huge pressure on an industry that's traditionally been pretty resource intensive. You think about it, complex R&D, lots of different chemical inputs, natural ingredients sometimes have short shelf lives, global supply chains.
Incredibly complex.
So navigating all that, reducing the harm while still delivering, say, a high-performance serum or a really effective cosmetic, that sounds tough.
It creates this massive data problem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How do you track and optimize everything?
Right.
And that's precisely why AI isn't optional anymore. It lets brands kind of bypass the old trade-offs. Historically, a brand might have had to choose. Cheap synthetic ingredients or expensive, maybe less reliable natural ones, high-performance materials, or sustainable packaging.
The classic compromise.
Exactly. But by using the power of data, sophisticated modeling, AI helps brands make decisions that can actually benefit the environment, the consumer experience, and the bottom line all at the same time. It finds that sweet spot.
Okay, so the motivation is crystal clear. Adapt or risk becoming irrelevant to this huge, demanding consumer base. Now let's get into the mechanics. Where does AI make the biggest, most immediate difference? I'm guessing it has to be right there on the factory floor, cutting down that awful waste from manufacturing.
Absolutely. The waste in traditional production can be, staggering. It routinely leads to huge amounts of excess inventory, ingredients spoiling unnecessarily, packaging surpluses.
It's stuff just sitting there, going bad or unused.
Right. And even with really skilled human teams managing things, trying to control all those variables across a global production network, it just inevitably leads to high levels of waste that could have been avoided.
So this is where we really get technical. The first big AI intervention seems to be fixing that age-old business problem, guessing how much stuff to actually make. Let's talk predictive analytics for demand forecasting.
Yeah, this is fundamental. And AI takes forecasting way beyond just looking at last year's numbers. These AI models, they're trained on historical sales data, sure, but they integrate dozens, maybe hundreds of other data points, often unstructured, really volatile stuff.
Like what kind of stuff?
Think about real-time social media sentiment. Is a celebrity suddenly talking about a certain look? Is a trend blowing up on TikTok? Or micro-seasonal shifts? An unexpected early heat wave suddenly makes SPF demand spike in one specific city. They also pull in competitor activity, macroeconomic indicators, even local events that might affect purchasing.
So it's building this incredibly dynamic, almost like a 3D picture of what the market wants right now, not just a flat line based on the past.
Exactly. A much richer, more nuanced picture. And this lets brands predict demand for a very specific product, say, a particular shade of foundation, or a limited edition holiday gift set with way more precision than before.
And the tangible benefit there.
It directly, powerfully prevents overproduction. That's the key.
Okay, let's break that down. What's the real impact financially and environmentally of stopping that overproduction?
Oh, it's enormous. I mean, if you reduce the guesswork, the uncertainty in your sales forecasts, you drastically cut down on the amount of finished product that just sits in warehouses.
Right.
Product that eventually expires or has to be heavily discounted just to move it, or worst case, literally gets landfilled or incinerated.
Which is pure waste.
Pure, immediate waste. Our sources really hammered this point. AI helps slash that staggering volume of unsold inventory. And it's not just saving the packaging and the ingredients in those unsold items. Think about the energy, the water, the labor, the transport, everything that went into making that product that nobody bought. It saves all of that too.
Okay, so step one. Get the demand forecast super tight. Once you have that, the next challenge is making sure the factory actually produces efficiently based on that forecast. Let's move to smart manufacturing and material use.
Right. This is where we get into real-time optimization on the factory floor itself. Machine learning algorithms are constantly monitoring the production environment. They use data from sensors everywhere.
Sensors on what?
On everything. The humidity, the temperature inside the mixing vats, the flow rates of raw materials being dispensed, the accuracy of the filling machines, down to tiny details.
So if something starts to drift, even slightly, the AI flags it.
Instantly, and sometimes even predictively. It sees a trend developing, but it doesn't just track, it actively optimizes. It fine-tunes the use of every single ingredient, sometimes down to the milligram, ensuring minimal spillage or excess.
Can you give an example, like in making a cream or something?
Sure. Think about making a big batch of a complex emulsion like a face cream. It needs really precise control over mixing speeds, temperatures, timings. If a human operator maybe mixes it slightly too long, or the temperature fluctuates just a degree or two outside the ideal range,
The whole batch could be ruined.
the entire batch can destabilize. It might separate, or the texture is wrong, or the active ingredients degrade. Suddenly, thousands of units are completely worthless.
That's a huge waste event. All those materials, the energy, the time, just gone.
Exactly. Catastrophic waste. So by using AI to monitor these processes constantly and make tiny automated adjustments, maybe slowing down a mixer by a few RPM, adjusting a heating element fractionally, tweaking a valve, the system drastically minimizes those kinds of errors. It significantly reduces the chance of entire batches being rejected and thrown away. It basically turns manufacturing from what was partly an art, reliant on operator skill, into a much more precise, data-driven science.
And that increased efficiency, that precision, it leads right into the next logical step, which is something many sustainable companies strive for: just-in-time production, or JIT.
Yeah, JIT is kind of the holy grail for efficient supply chains. But honestly, it's traditionally been incredibly difficult and expensive to implement effectively, especially in an industry as fast-moving and complex as beauty.
Right.
The whole idea of JIT is that you manufacture products only as they're actually needed, closely matching real customer orders, instead of making huge batches based on forecasts and then storing them in massive warehouses.
Why is JIT particularly tricky for cosmetics?
Well, beauty products have some specific challenges. Often short shelf lives, especially if they rely on natural ingredients without strong preservatives. Complex global distribution networks. And highly volatile seasonal trends or fashion fads. If your main factory is in Asia and your biggest market is Europe or North America, managing ingredient freshness and predicting transport times down to the day requires absolute precision. Traditional planning just couldn't really handle all those moving parts in real time.
So AI becomes the brain or the connective tissue that makes JIT feasible for beauty.
It really does. It facilitates JIT beautifully because it can manage all those complex variables simultaneously. It links those accurate demand forecasts we talked about directly to schedules for raw material deliveries, current factory capacity, and immediate logistics planning.
It connects all the dots in real time.
Exactly. This rapid alignment fundamentally changes the inventory model. It means minimal excess stock sitting around. It reduces the need for huge, energy-guzzling, climate-controlled warehouses. And it minimizes the overall resources, energy, water, storage space, capital tied up in inventory, consumed across that whole manufacturing-to-shelf journey.
That's a powerful shift. We've gone from fixing internal factory issues to tackling broader environmental impacts. So, moving beyond the factory itself, let's look at the actual product. Section 3 is about creating cleaner products, ones that perform well, but also meet that intense consumer demand for safe, natural, effective ingredients.
Right, and this is where AI moves beyond just optimizing what we already do into actually driving innovation in how products are formulated in the first place. The first solution here is using AI for more ethical and sustainable ingredient sourcing. Sourcing is just this massive data puzzle.
How so?
Well, you have to consider biodiversity impacts, potential resource depletion for popular ingredients, water usage in cultivation, and critically, the ethics of the suppliers, fair labor, land rights, things like that.
And it's a puzzle where the pieces are constantly changing because of climate shifts, geopolitics.
Absolutely. It's incredibly dynamic. AI is uniquely capable of analyzing these vast, diverse data sets on ingredient origins. It tracks the environmental impact across the entire life cycle from farm to extraction. It scrutinizes supplier practices, often integrating with other tech like blockchain, to make sure the sourcing data is trustworthy and can't be easily tampered with.
Okay, let's get specific. Say a brand wants to use, I don't know, a trendy new botanical extract from a sensitive region. How does AI help prevent ecological harm or contributing to deforestation?
Well, the AI acts like a really sophisticated watchdog and resource analyst. It cross-references the ingredient and its source location with global databases on biodiversity hotspots, endangered species habitats, known deforestation risks, water stress indices, things like that.
Oh, okay.
Our sources give examples like AI being tasked to find high-performing plant-based alternatives to common synthetic ingredients that might work well but have a poor environmental profile. Or take palm oil, which is notoriously difficult. Yeah. AI can analyze satellite imagery combined with supplier certifications and audit reports to verify claims of sustainable, deforestation-free sourcing, giving brands near real-time assurance.
that ability not just to track, but to analyze the impact and actively suggest alternatives, that feels like a game changer for R&D.
It really shifts the paradigm, which leads us neatly into formulation optimization, finding that perfect blend of high performance and eco-consciousness.
The secret sauce.
Kind of, yeah. This is where high-performance chemistry meets environmental science, powered by computation. Instead of a chemist physically mixing hundreds or thousands of slightly different samples in the lab over months, which is resource-intensive in itself.
Right, lots of trial and error.
AI algorithms use computational chemistry. They can simulate billions of potential ingredient combinations digitally, predicting how they'll interact.
So the AI is basically doing virtual experiments before anything gets mixed in the real world.
Exactly. And the key difference is the environmental constraints are built right into the simulation from the start. The AI analyzes not just potential effectiveness or stability, but also things like predicted biodegradability, water footprint during manufacturing for those ingredients, potential ecotoxicity scores.
It's optimizing for greenness alongside performance.
Precisely. The goal is to computationally fine-tune formulations that are effective, stable, meet regulatory rules, and are inherently eco-conscious. Often this means finding ways to achieve the desired effect with fewer total ingredients.
Which probably helps cut down on some of that extra filler stuff that might have been included traditionally.
Absolutely. Simplify, purify. By identifying the most potent and necessary components, AI helps brands avoid unnecessary chemicals, reducing the product's overall carbon footprint, water usage, and potential downstream environmental impact right from the formula design stage. It's proactive sustainability.
Baked right in. Now, let's connect this back to waste, but this time, the waste that happens after the product leaves the store. You mentioned personalization earlier. How does AI enabling tailored products actually cut down on consumer waste?
Yeah, this tackles what I call the product graveyard problem. We all have it, right? That shelf or drawer under the sink filled with half-used bottles of shampoo, lotions, creams that just didn't quite work for us.
Guilty is charged. Yeah.
They sit there until they expire or we finally give up and toss them. That whole cycle of consumer trial and error is a massive source of product waste.
So how does AI change that?
By enabling hyper-customization at scale. Brands can use AI, often through online questionnaires or even analyzing selfies, to assess a customer's specific needs in detail. Skin type, hair condition, local climate factors like humidity or pollution levels, specific concerns like acne or dryness.
Okay.
And based on that detailed profile, the AI can recommend a precisely matched existing product or increasingly help formulate a custom blended product specifically for that individual.
And the idea is, if the customer gets exactly what they need first time,
they're far less likely to buy 3 or 4 or 5 alternatives that end up barely used and eventually discarded.
right, cuts out the guesswork shopping?
Exactly. The impact is double-edged, really. Customer satisfaction goes way up because the product actually works perfectly for them. And you significantly minimize the waste from product returns, abandoned products, and all that discarded inventory from failed trials. It's a really clear example of how better service directly translates into environmental benefit.
That link is really compelling. Okay, let's pivot now. We've looked inside the formula and the factory. What about the product's physical shell? This brings us to section 4. Rethinking the physical footprint packaging and supply chain transparency.
Yeah, packaging is often the most visible, the most tangible part of the beauty industry's environmental impact. The sheer amount of plastic waste, in particular, is a huge problem. AI is playing a really vital role here in rethinking both the materials used and the whole design philosophy.
So how does AI help with packaging design? Is it just about making things smaller?
It's much more sophisticated than just shrinking things, although optimizing size is part of it. AI tools analyze potential packaging materials using this really complex multi-criteria matrix. They look at the traditional stuff, of course, cost, durability, protecting the product.
Sure.
But they weigh those factors heavily against sustainability metrics. Things like recyclability, and not just theoretical recyclability, but how likely it is to actually get recycled in the specific regions where the product is sold. They look at biodegradation rates, the carbon emissions generated during the material's production and transport, water usage.
Wow, okay. So it's trying to find that perfect balance, strong enough to work, but as gentle on the planet as possible when it's finished with.
That's exactly the goal. Identify materials that minimize the environmental hit while still doing the crucial job of keeping the product safe, stable, and fresh for its entire shelf life. And then, yes, there's the design efficiency itself. This is where AI helps optimize package sizes.
You mean cutting down on all that empty space or unnecessary bulky packaging you sometimes see, especially in luxury cosmetics?
Precisely. It's a direct assault on over-packaging. Those big boxes with tiny pots inside, or excessive internal supports just for presentation.
Yeah.
Machine learning models can analyze sales data, look at how quickly customers typically use up a certain product size, read customer feedback, and based on all that, recommend the absolute optimal package size and format. Not too big, not too small, just right. This prevents wasting material on unnecessarily large containers, ensuring the packaging is appropriate for the product's actual use, cutting material consumption right at the source.
Okay, so we've got ethical ingredients, an efficient factory, smarter packaging. But true sustainability means tracking the whole journey, right? We need to look at how AI manages the supply chain, ensures that ethical sourcing actually happened, and reduces the impact of logistics.
Absolutely. This is where AI moves into the critical area of verification and building trust. Brands need to be able to prove their sourcing claims are real. This is AI for ethical sourcing and verification.
And this sounds vital for consumers who are frankly pretty skeptical these days about vague, ethically sourced labels.
They are, and rightly so. Machine learning algorithms are used to track and verify raw material sourcing right back to the origin, often using things like blockchain to create a secure, unchangeable record of the journey. They analyze supplier practices, check certifications against international standards databases, pull in environmental data.
How does the AI actually confirm something like, say, a specific batch of shea butter didn't come from an area linked to deforestation or unfair labor?
It integrates multiple data streams. Geospatial data is a big one. The algorithms can analyze satellite imagery over time to detect changes in land use near the source, flagging potential deforestation risks.
Now,
They cross-reference supplier lists with databases of companies flagged for labor violations or environmental issues. They verify certifications automatically. Our sources really stress how critical this tech is for helping brands actively avoid ingredients tied to habitat destruction, biodiversity loss, or worker exploitation. Trying to do that level of global continuous verification manually at scale, it's almost impossible. AI makes it feasible.
that level of detailed, automated verification is genuinely game-changing. So, once the ethically sourced ingredients are secured, AI then helps move them around efficiently. Let's look at AI for logistics and efficiency.
Right. Moving raw materials and finished goods around the globe has a significant carbon footprint. AI models here go way beyond just basic route planning. They analyze dynamic factors, real-time shipping demands, current and predicted weather patterns that might cause delays, fluctuating fuel prices, inventory levels at different warehouses.
So it's optimizing for more than just speed or cost.
Yes, it's optimizing for efficiency and lowest emissions. We're talking multimodal transport optimization. The AI might figure out that sending something partly by rail instead of entirely by truck, even if it takes a day longer, might drastically cut emissions for that leg of the journey.
Okay.
It calculates the trade-offs between speed, cost, and carbon impact, suggesting the most efficient mix of transport modes and routes to minimize fuel consumption and overall transportation emissions. This directly lowers the carbon footprint baked into the final product on the shelf.
And the thread connecting all these pieces, the forecasting, the factory, the sourcing, the transport, seems to be the ability to actually measure the impact. Carbon footprint measurement.
This is maybe the most powerful internal tool for driving change because it brings objectivity. AI tools can provide real-time, granular insights into exactly how different processes, different material choices contribute to the overall environmental impact.
So, like, if a product team is considering switching from ingredient A to ingredient B,
The AI can immediately calculate and show the projected change in the total carbon footprint for that product, considering everything from farming or synthesis to processing and transport of the new ingredient.
that's incredibly powerful.
It creates this dynamic, constant feedback loop. It allows brands to set really specific, measurable, achievable sustainability goals like reduce footprint of product line X by 15% in 2 years, and then track their progress towards those goals with incredible accuracy. It turns vague environmental hopes into hard, quantifiable targets you can actively manage and optimize.
That continuous data-driven improvement cycle. That's what makes these AI solutions feel so essential in such a complex industry.
Okay, let's bring all this deep internal tech back to the end user. Section 5, consumer insights and transparency.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you need to make sustainable products that people actually want to buy. Understanding consumer values is step one, and AI is huge for market research here. These tools don't just, count keywords. They perform sophisticated analysis of consumer reviews, social media conversations, search trends, to understand what sustainable or eco-friendly actually means to their specific customers right now.
Exactly. Are they prioritizing recycled packaging, waterless formulations, carbon-neutral shipping, verifiable cruelty-free status? Knowing what resonates most allows brands to focus their efforts and investments. This data guides product development, making sure new launches align with real demand, which also reduces the risk of launching a sustainable product that ultimately flops because it missed the mark on consumer priorities.
Makes sense. And this leads directly to the crucial final step, sustainability transparency, building trust with those informed, demanding consumers.
Transparency is really the antidote to greenwashing, isn't it? If you can back up your claims with accessible data, AI helps brands communicate their efforts effectively. It takes all that complex data we've been talking about on sourcing, packaging, waste reduction, carbon footprint calculations, and helps present it in a way that's clear, understandable, and verifiable for the average person.
So what does that look like for me, the consumer, standing in the store or browsing online? What's the function of these AI-powered transparency tools?
They provide clear, reliable proof. So instead of just seeing a vague claim like eco-friendly on a bottle, you might scan a QR code.
Okay.
And that could link you to an AI-curated dashboard showing, say, verification that the palm oil used is certified deforestation-free, or the calculated carbon footprint of that specific item compared to an industry benchmark, or the percentage of recycled content in the packaging verified through the supply chain data.
So it gives the consumer actual data points to base their decision on.
Exactly. It empowers consumers to make genuinely informed choices based on verified environmental impact, not just marketing fluff. It really shifts the power dynamic and fosters trust through radical transparency.
And that's where the whole system really clicks into place, doesn't it? You link the optimized, verified factory and supply chain right through to the consumer's informed choice in the aisle. It creates this complete loop of accountability.
It really does. It sets a completely new standard for corporate responsibility because, well, it makes it much harder to hide unsustainable practices when the data is potentially accessible.
Okay, looking ahead then. Section 6, the future potential. As AI keeps getting smarter, faster, more integrated, where do we see this heading? What's next for AI and sustainability in beauty?
Well, we can definitely expect ongoing innovation driven by ever more sophisticated AI. One huge area is likely to be advanced formulations using bioengineered ingredients or synthetic biology.
Explain that a bit more. Bioengineered ingredients.
Yeah, the goal here is basically to reduce the beauty industry's reliance on traditional agriculture or wild harvesting for certain ingredients, especially those that are rare, resource-intensive to grow, or vulnerable to climate change.
So instead of farming a vast fields or potentially over-harvesting a wild plant,
you might use AI to help design and optimize a process where microorganisms, like yeast or bacteria, are essentially programmed in a lab to produce that specific active molecule sustainably, perhaps using waste streams as feedstock, in a controlled, closed-loop bioreactor.
Wow. So lab-grown ingredients, essentially, but highly optimized for sustainability.
Precisely. AI is crucial for designing those organisms, optimizing the fermentation or cultivation processes for maximum yield with minimal energy and water input, and ensuring purity. We should also expect continued breakthroughs in new eco-friendly packaging materials.
How does AI help there?
As AI models get better at analyzing material properties, things like tensile strength, oxygen barrier properties, biodegradability under different conditions, compatibility with formulas, and importantly, how consumers actually dispose of them, they'll identify and help develop novel materials. Think next-generation compostables that actually break down, or new types of plastics designed for infinite recyclability, stuff we haven't even conceived of yet.
And perhaps the ultimate goal for sustainability, driving genuinely circular operations. How will AI enable beauty brands to finally close the loop and move towards a circular economy model?
AI is absolutely key here because managing the complexity of circularity is immense. It helps brands move decisively away from that old linear model. Make, use, throw away. There are two main ways AI facilitates this.
Okay, let's break them down.
First, AI can identify ways to repurpose or valorize waste streams within the manufacturing process itself. Instead of just disposing of byproducts, AI can analyze their composition and find novel economical uses. Maybe a nutrient-rich byproduct from an extraction process could be diverted and sold as agricultural fertilizer, for example. It finds value in waste.
Turning waste into a resource.
Exactly. And second, perhaps even more impactful long-term, AI can enable much, much more efficient post-consumer recycling. After you, the consumer, finish the product and put the packaging in the recycling bin.
How does AI improve things at the recycling plant? That seems like a messy physical problem.
It is, but AI-powered systems are making huge strides. Think computer vision combined with robotics. AI systems can visually identify different types of plastics and materials in mixed recycling streams with incredible speed and accuracy, far better than traditional sorting methods, especially for the complex multi-material packaging often used in cosmetics.
So the robots can actually see and sort the different types of cosmetic packaging much better.
Yes, they can rapidly identify, sort, and separate PE from HDPE, from glass, from mixed plastics, even identifying things like black plastics that are notoriously hard for older systems. This dramatically increases the quality and quantity of materials that can be successfully recovered and actually turned back into usable materials for new packaging, truly closing the loop.
So we've really covered the whole life cycle. Optimization inside the factory, personalization for the consumer, verification deep in the supply chain, smarter packaging design, and now even enabling total material recovery and repurposing at the very end of life. All tied together by data and AI.
It's genuinely transformative. It's clear that AI is shifting the beauty industry away from being just resource-intensive towards being highly optimized and data intelligent. It's giving companies the tools to make measurable, quantifiable decisions that really do reduce their environmental footprint, while also meeting that urgent, growing consumer demand for authentic action. The brands investing strategically in these AI capabilities now, they're not just playing defense or ensuring compliance, they're positioning themselves to lead the entire industry towards a future where beauty is inherently sustainable, ethical, and innovative. It becomes the standard.
What an incredibly detailed deep dive. It really shows how AI is working behind the scenes in ways most of us probably never considered. It goes so far beyond just the flashy consumer-facing applications. So just to quickly recap the absolute key takeaways for you listening. AI is transforming sustainability by enabling this ultra-precise optimization of production using things like just-in-time. It allows for highly customized product formulations using ingredients that are verified as eco-friendly and ethically sourced. And it ensures that supply chain ethics aren't just promises, but are backed by constant, often immutable tracking and verification, actively helping avoid awful stuff like deforestation or worker exploitation.
And maybe the most powerful piece, as we discussed, is that AI provides the tools for brands to accurately measure their carbon footprint and other impacts, and then communicate that information transparently and verifiably back to the consumer. That's not just good business anymore. It's becoming a fundamental requirement for building trust and accountability. It changes the whole game.
It really does. And that transparency raises a crucial question for you, the consumer, next time you're shopping. If you start seeing this kind of AI-powered, verified, real-time data on labels or accessible via a quick scan proof of ethical sourcing, a measured carbon footprint number, how might that level of concrete information, that certainty, actually change your personal buying habits? Would you switch brands for that? Maybe pay a little more for that peace of mind that comes with truly transparent, verifiable sustainability? Definitely something to think about next time you pick up that moisturizer or shampoo.
Thanks for tuning in to the Song for Beauty podcast. This is a place where beauty meets community and it meets strategy and ideas. If anything resonated with you, if you were inspired, if ideas were sparked by this podcast, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, also share it. Be sure to check out www.samb Stay tuned, and we hope to see you at the SAMB for Beauty conference this year in November. It's a virtual conference, November 5th through the 7th. There's a lot of great resources. You're going to access workshops, one-to-one consultations and membership. And then there are quarterly webinars for knowledge, and there's a knowledge base that you can access, all to support your efforts as you look at expanding some of your sales and marketing efforts for your business. We appreciate you checking in. Make sure to follow and check out the next episode.